Thank you, Jakob, and hello everyone. Thank you very much for such a thank you very much. Thank you very much for such a great opportunity to talk about Japanese CFP activities here. Today, I'd like to share with you the latest information on this topic, which is the privatization of CFP program. So first of all, let me briefly introduce our organization. Jemai, or Japan Environmental Management Association for Industry, is a public organization with membership of over 700 companies. It was established in 1962, and at first, its main job was the management of the industrial control, pollution control. But after Rio Summit in 1992, we have expanded our working field to more global environmental issues. And LCA Studies and EcoLeaf program, which is the Japanese Type 3 labeling program, are some examples of these new activities. And we have also working for Japanese CFP pilot project since 2009 as a main secretariat. So let's move on to the topic of CFP. As many of you already know, in Japan, we have been carrying out CFP activity as a governmental pilot project. The Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry was the program operator, and after the trial year in 2008, in April 2009, we started CFP pilot project for 3 years. And it was just ended successfully last month. And since this April, our organization have taken over the Japanese CFP scheme as a new program operator. And during the pilot project, we have had a lot of significant outcomes. Here you can see just only some examples, but for example, we now have 73 PCRs, 460 verified CFP products, and you can see the breakdown of them here. And we now necessary documents and rules for program operation, CFP database with over 1,200 GHG data, and we also have competent verifiers, educational materials, and CFP website, and so on. And during the pilot project, we had both positive and negative opinions. The positive ones for example, the CFP is useful because we can prepare for future environmental regulation in the global market, or CFP is an effective tool for information disclosure, traceability analysis, or supply chain management. And as for the program itself, the whole system was considered to be very credible, fair, and transparent. And as for negative sides, we have identified these 4 points as the most challenging issues. First, it's about PCR development. It is so time-consuming. And the second is about verification. And the Japanese verification was considered to be very trustworthy, but on the other hand, it was so strict. So it was a big burden for newcomers who just wanted to try to participate in this program. And third is about secondary data use. It was very inflexible because the official CFP database was the only one database we could use in the pilot project. So even when the company claims that they have their own secondary data, they couldn't use it. And the last one is probably the most important one, which is that carbon footprint, this term is not still popular yet enough in the Japanese society. So you have to do lots of work to get this CFP mark, but after that, when you look around, not so many general consumers even recognize it. So many companies just have given up the CFP activities, thinking that it is not so worthwhile or it is not so appealing enough. So, since this April, in the new scheme, we would like to take care of such challenging issues while keeping the positive aspects of pilot project. And here comes the basic concept of the new scheme. Based on the pilot project outcomes, we will operate the program in a manner consistent with ISO standard. We will try to make the program flexible than before, but without losing the credibility or transparency. And more emphasis will be put on communication and promotion side so that we can make GHG reduction effort more visible. And we are also going to try to prepare for more comprehensive information disclosure by looking at other initiatives all around the world. And the full-scale operation will start on July 1st. So in this transitional period, we are now preparing for the new scheme. And in order to deal with the four challenging points I mentioned before, we are now trying to do something new. Firstly, for the PCR development, we are now supporting easier and faster PCR development. And secondly, as for verification, we are going to adopt the system certification. And thirdly, for secondary data, we are going to adapt the company's own secondary data. And the fourth, lastly, more flexible communication will be encouraged in order to promote CFP in the market. So let me go a little bit further on each topic. It's about PCR development. In order to encourage speedy development, we are now trying to establish kind of sector guidelines. We have analyzed 73 PCRs we already have and identified some common points depending on each sector. And based on that, we are kind of creating a template so that you can use it during your PCR developing process. And also, we have decided to accept to develop PCR by one company. But on the other hand, we think the harmonization among the new and old PCRs is quite important. So we are going to put review panel to control all the PCRs in Japan so that no strange PCR will come around. And as for verification, in addition to the product-by-product verification, we have decided to take system certification. In this scheme, the certification bodies checks whether an organization has proper internal system for CFP quantification, independent verification, and internal audit. And once approved and certified, this organization can do the verification work by themselves within the company. So we think this is very cost efficient, and also it is very timely because you can do the verification at any time you want. And the third point was about secondary data. In the new scheme, the basic data from our official CFP database are still the most recommended data. But if you wish, you can also use the data, your own data as accepted data as long as it is validated by the review panel. And as for communication, we are going to keep using the same CFP mark over there. And that CFP mark always must go with the detailed information sheet because Japanese CFP is classified as CFP declaration in ISO terms. And we also keep to recommend participants to use this kind of additional information, and so that we can support the consumer's understanding. And what makes different from pilot project is that now organization can communicate more freely than before. I just put some examples here, but it is easier for you to imagine French type environmental labeling activities. From now on, the combination of the preset CFP communication over there and the company's original CFP communication will be encouraged. And there are some more important changes. After long and active discussions, we have decided to adopt CFP mark without numerical value like there. And now intermediate products can also use these marks too. And the third point is quite characteristic. It's about comparability. At this stage, we have decided to say that you cannot compare the CFP number, even when the calculation is done by using the same PCR. It might be a little bit surprising or maybe disappointing for some of you, but for now we prefer not to go for careless comparison. But it doesn't mean that we have totally given up the comparability, of course, and we will keep look at the international discussion on this topic. And in the meantime, we prefer to put more emphasis on dissemination and education, so that when the comparability is truly achievable technically, there will be enough number of CFP labels to be compared, or enough number of people who can understand the idea of life cycle thinking and CFP labels meaning. And as future plans, we are also thinking to integrate CFP into the Japanese Type 3 Eco-Leaf program, because we think we are already moving into the phase where we have to prepare for more comprehensive environmental information disclosure. I just put only a few examples here, but more and more programs and initiatives are coming up in the world, so we will keep an eye on these important activities so that we can be always ready for the harmonization and cooperation with national and overseas programs and initiatives. So it was very short, but it was the introduction of the Japanese latest CFP status. Again, please wait until July 1st for full-scale operation. And until then, if you have any questions or you want more information, please contact us from here. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.